All right, the next section is going to be about politics and the Populist Party. Okay, so birth of the Populist, 1892. Multiple choice question 19 says political challenge by farmers. Now, we already talked about how the farmers were getting really messed over by the railroads last couple of videos, and this is a continuation of that. Okay, so the Farmers Alliance, remember, this is a group of people that are not actually farmers. They are the people that support farmers, and they live in the cities. These are preachers and teachers and stuff like that, journalists, lawyers. Anyway, the Farmers Alliance leaders created the Populist Party to fight against the railroads and big business. Okay, so why is the Populist Party here? You know, why was it a thing? Because the farmers were fighting against railroads. That's all it is. Multiple choice question 11, political challenge by farmers. Okay, farmers responded to falling crop prices by joining the Populist Party. Now, what I haven't really got into yet with you is that the majority of farmers were in rural areas, a lot of them in the South. And if you remember from the Jim Crow chapter, that, you know, farmers from the South, they were Democrats because the entire South was solidly Democratic. It was the solid South. So what they did is that they actually split the Democratic Party. Not exactly in half, but about 20% of the Democrats left the Democratic Party and created their own Populist Party. Now, if you follow elections at all, you know this is a very dangerous thing for a major party to have happen. If you lose 20% of your voters, then you lose every election. Okay, so this is a major problem for the Democrats. So they wanted things that the Democratic Party were not providing, because the Democratic Party did not care about farmers, because farmers did not vote. If you're a farmer on the Great Plains, your nearest neighbor might be 10 miles away. Your nearest polling station where you go to vote might be 50 miles away. How many of you would actually go and get on a horse and ride 50 miles one way and 50 miles back just to cast a ballot? Not many, okay? People won't even get in their car and go vote today. So anyway, because the farmers did not vote, the Democrats did not care. They didn't care about their own people in this sense. So what did the Populist Party want? Okay, so we're going to go through the entire platform of the Populist Party. And remember, populist, if you just want a quick definition for a populist, it is a Democratic farmer. Okay, so 1892 election, the Populists were a third party. Their platform was free and unlimited coinage of silver at a rate of 16-1. They wanted soft money to pay off debts, easier through inflation. Okay, so the way this worked, y'all, is like we said in previous videos, we were on the gold standard, which means that all of our money was based on the price of gold. Okay, it was all based on gold. Well, there was a mountain of silver that had been mined over the last few decades out west, and we could not cash that in. Okay, we could sell the silver, but we couldn't coin the silver. We couldn't, that's what it says here, coinage of money, which means you couldn't print money based on the value of the silver. So what they want is take this huge chunk of silver, which is 16 times more silver than gold that the U.S. had, and print money based on that too. And this is called bimetallism. Okay, it's also called free silver. It's also called soft money. It's all the same stuff. Okay, but the point was, if I print 3 times the amount of money, let's say, or 4 times the amount of money, well, then it's going to create inflation. You already know that from your basic U.S. history. The more money in circulation, the less it's worth, right? Well, when you create inflation, it makes it easier to pay off debt. That, again, makes it like a loan that was $3,000, makes it seem like it's $1,000 to pay off, because the value of the dollar has dropped significantly. Okay, nationalization of railroad, telegraphs, and telephones. Okay, they did not actually get this, they only got regulation. Okay, so if you remember from basic U.S. history vocabulary, the word nationalization is when the government just says, yep, that stuff's mine. Okay, the government just takes your stuff. So the populists want them to take every bit of property from the railroad companies, the telegraph companies, and the telephone companies, because these were monopolies that were messing with the little guy. They were taking advantage of the average American. Now, the government never went that far. Okay, that is socialism. You're getting into communist territory if you keep going with it, right? Keep nationalizing everything. So they kind of got what they wanted here. Okay, so moving on to the next one. Railroads and corporations must return unused government land. That was another demand of the Populist Party. They didn't really get that. Okay, so the first one, they got it. That's bimetallism. It's going to cause an economic crash, by the way, we're about to talk about. Then they almost kind of got, regulation of national railroads, telegraphs, telephones. And then they never got the thing where we just stole all the land back. So we didn't nationalize the land from the railroads. But do remember that the railroads were actively misusing the land. Okay, they were holding on to the land against the instruction of the government, which the government said, you need to sell that land to settlers for cheap. And that's why the settlers just wanted us to take it all back and just give it away. Okay, make it Homestead Act stuff, 160 free acres for 5 years of your life, The next thing I want is the 16th Amendment. Please remember the 16th Amendment. Draw some stars next to that thing. It's going to be multiple questions on multiple tests this year, and it's going to be on your LEAP test. It's on the LEAP every year. Okay, so the 16th Amendment to the Constitution, remember, amendment is a change to the Constitution, right? Is the progressive income tax, which basically says the more you make, the more the government takes from you. So somebody who makes $1 million a year has to pay a higher percentage of their income. If somebody makes $3,000 a year, which is horrible, they don't pay any tax to the government. Okay, so the more you make, the more they take. The robber barons have to pay their share, their fair share, according to the progressives. So think about it. What do you think? Do you think rich people should pay a higher percentage of their income just because they're rich? Or do you think they should just have to pay the same percentage, but more money? That's up to you, okay? All right. It's actually up to the Constitution right now, but I'm asking you what you think about it. All right, next one, secret ballot, Australian ballot. This is where it was actually founded. Stop businesses from controlling workers' votes. What was going on, y'all, there were very corrupt elections, and the bosses, let's say you had a robber baron, you worked in a factory, he would load up all of the workers on a train, okay? He would shut the factory down on election day, load up all the workers, and then they would go to the ballot box together, and your boss would watch you vote. And if you voted for the Democrats, because most of these rich robber barons were Republicans, if you vote for the Democrats, well, you're going to walk home. You don't even get a train ride. And once you get home, you don't have a job. Okay? And not too many guys wanted to go home and tell their wife that, I lost my job today that pays pretty well because I voted for the Democrats. Okay? So they would just watch their people vote. They had colored ballots before the secret ballot. So remember the old red and blue, right? Republicans red, Democrats blue. If you wanted to vote Republican, you picked up the red ballot. And that's because a lot of people didn't know how to read. That was the justification for it. Especially in the South where there's literacy tests and all that. It's a different case. But anyway, so the guy would watch you pick up the red ballot and put it in the box in front of everybody. And everybody knew how you voted. All right, the next one. This is the one that all students forget because it sounds boring, but it's actually very, very important. Y'all need to know this one as well, y'all. The 17th Amendment to the Constitution is a direct election of U.S. senators. It sounds boring. Like, okay, so what does that mean? What was going on here, y'all, is that the party bosses in the state legislature, they were all getting bribed. All your state representatives were getting bribed by the robber barons. The robber barons would say, look, you take my $100,000, but my guy better win. You better appoint him. So you, the American citizen, before the 17th Amendment, never got to vote on your own senators, your own representatives. The party bosses and the robber barons would just pick them, which meant that the entire all state legislatures in the 48 states that we had at the time were bought off by the robber barons. Every single one of them. which means the robber barons control Congress, both houses. So the 17th Amendment is massively important because what it says is that you, the people, now get to choose your representatives, and we're kicking the robber barons out of this, this whole political system, relatively speaking. Some people would say they're still not out of it, including me, but anyway. So, next one, 8-hour workday, okay? So, they want an 8-hour workday. Most people work in about 12 to 16 hours a day, okay? Make it about $2 an hour by this point. Excuse me, not an hour, a day. $2 a day, okay? Which, that's not too great, all right? But anyway, so they did get this. So the 8-hour workday for federal workers came first, and then for everybody else it became standard. And now if you go over that 40 hours a week, you have to get paid overtime. That's another law that comes much later, okay? All right, decreased immigration. So if the populists want decreased immigration, what does that mean the whole Populist Party represents? Who do they represent? Okay, what are the people that don't like immigrants coming into this country because they're stealing jobs and all that stuff? Well, the entire Populist Party was pretty much nativist, okay? All right, that's it for this video.